Alrighty, so here we are on lesson 11, absolute value, magnitude, and distance. So you should be on page 13 of your note packet. Alright, we're going to skip this opening exercise and we're going to look here in the box where it says absolute value. And the absolute value of a number is the distance between the number and 0 on a number line. Alright, please put a star next to this box. This is probably the most important box for the lesson, right? Because this is what we're going to be talking about. So if we look at example 1 here, it says the absolute value of 10 is written as this. So these bars, these are absolute value bars, so write yourself a little note. And we're going to be seeing those a lot. And it says on the number line, count the number of units from 10 to 0. And if we count the number of units, we know that the number is 10, so the absolute value of 10 would just be 10. Alright? But then down here it says, what other number has an absolute value of 10? And we're asking, what other value, let's write this down, other value is 10 units away from 0. Alright, and if we think about it in a number line, if we look back up here, another value that's 10 units away from 0 would be negative 10. And we know that this would also have the absolute value of 10 because it's 10 units away. So we would write this as, with the bars, negative 10, and this just equals 10. Alright, so go ahead and flip over to the next page. We're going to fill in the chart here. So first we're looking at the number 6 here. So if we put the absolute value bars around 6, and if we look at it on the number line here, negative 6 on the number line, we know from 6 to 0, this is 6 units away. So the absolute value would be 6. And a different number with the same absolute value would be down here at positive 6. So that's what we would put in this box. Alright, if we go back and look at the absolute value of 8, we know that if we're looking at 8 on the number line, positive 8 is 8 units away from 0, so we're going to put 8 over here for the absolute value. And then a different number with the same absolute value would be negative 8. Should be down here. This is 8 units away from 0 as well, so negative 8. Alright, then one more, negative 1, if we put absolute value bars. The absolute value of negative 1 is 1. And if we're looking at positive 1 down here, or we're looking at negative 1 first, sorry, it's 1 unit away from 0. And then another number that has the same distance would be positive 1. So that's what we put in this box. Alright, so basically absolute value just turns every number into the positive version of that number. Alright. So we're going to look at this is called magnitude now, and the magnitude of a quantity is found by taking the absolute value of its numerical part. So basically whenever you see the word magnitude, you're thinking absolute value. Alright? So if we look at example 2 here, it says Mrs. Owens received a call from her bank because she had a checkbook balance of negative $45. The magnitude represents the amount overdrawn. Write a statement showing how much her checkbook was overdrawn. So magnitude means we're taking the absolute value. So the absolute value of negative 45 would just be 45. So to answer the question, we would say that $45 were overdrawn. Right? Because we never really talk about negative dollar amounts. Okay? So if you go ahead and flip over to the next page, we've got a few more examples to try here on our together, and then I'll have you try one on your own. So it says for each scenario below, use absolute value to determine the magnitude of each quantity and then write a statement for each answer. So number 1 says Maria was sick with the flu and her weight change as a result of it is represented by negative 4 pounds. The magnitude represents her weight loss. How much weight did Maria lose? So magnitude again means take the absolute value, which would be absolute value of negative 4, which we know is just 4 because it's 4 units away from 0. So to answer the question, we would say that Maria lost 4 pounds. Right? Okay, number 2, Jeffrey owes his friend $5. How much is Jeffrey's debt? So if he owes his friend, that means he's in the negative. So -5, and we're taking the absolute value, which would just be 5. So to answer the question, we would say Jeffrey's debt is $5. Alright, number 3 here says the elevation of Niagara Falls is 326 feet. How far is this above sea level? So since it says above sea level, we know this is going to be positive 326. So we take the absolute value, and we're left with just 326. So we would say Niagara Falls is 326 feet above sea level. Alright, and then one more I want to do all together here, number 4. It says how far below 0 is -16 degrees Celsius. So we're taking the absolute value, -16, which is just 16. So to answer the question, we would say 16 degrees below 0. Remember, we don't want to say -16 below 0 because that's a double negative. Right? We're going to skip number 5, but I want you to put a star by number 6. And I want you to try this on your own, and then we will go over it all together in class.